go. Jeff Sharples. My name is Ian Bagg. I'm in lovely Long Beach, California. You are in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I am.
Home
I
of the
am.
drought.
And I thought right now would be a good time for me to adjust whatever audio that I have. So
I like it.
tune in and watching us on audio like so many people do. That just happened.
It's
Very
a better
exciting.
show to watch on audio, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is actually better. And this week it's going to be even better than.
Why is that, Jeff?
It's very exciting. We've got some. We're keeping it fresh, and I'm just going to move off to the side here, and you'll see how fresh it's going to be.
Oh, we got
here?
Cory Hirsch dropping in. My God.
You know, on Saturday Night Live when they slide over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then they do a skit. I don't have a skit though.
You guys are going to do a skit. Hey, where did you guys play together? What team, what league?
We played in Utah together.
Oh,
and
Sharps has taken up like the whole.
I know, like
It hasn't changed.
Yeah, nothing. Hey,
I have a picture. I have a picture from my 7th birthday.
we go. There's
The whole photo.
hey, hang on a second. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, let's just leave. Let's just do that.
so hold up. So we've got a couple books to promote.
Okay, give us
One
your.
is Canada's Slow Best Cooker Recipe.
Yeah,
That was actually my nickname when playing hockey was Slow Cooker.
yeah. Well, that's one of them, but
And
it
then-
gets better.
It gets better. We've got my book launching on October 10th.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's my first hard copy.
Hey,
We have
tell
a
everybody,
picture.
tell everybody where you can get that. First of all,
Hold
don't.
up, hold
Hold
up.
on, hang on a sec.
We
He
got it.
gets on here.
We
He
got
gets a shameless plug going right away.
Picture of Jeff and Rod. Ian, you're not in it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Was that
But,
a Jeff's birthday
October
party?
10th. Yeah. Pre-sales on Amazon. And,
Amazon. And is there any bookstores left in North America that it's in?
Indigo.
Indigo Books.
Yeah. And what's the other one? Barnes and Noble? Is that? I think there's one of those in Vegas.
Yeah.
So, well,
There's
the thing was, we thought we might build into the show today and just do some witty banter, but Hershey got on and he plugged his book right away. So we're going
Right
to
off
plug
the
it some
top.
more.
You know what that was called, Jeff? That was called being done early. That was being done early. Here's my book. I'm fucking out of here. That's what that was saying.
The save of my life. And you know what? I'm going to keep it there the rest of the show. So look at him there. Look at,
Very
That's
nice.
as good as, I'm never getting better looking than this picture right here. So it's like, it's cool. Like, but yeah.
When I first seen it, I was like, Tom Cochran's got a new album.
I was thinking like Bradley Cooper wrote a book.
Ooh,
Where I was going.
or John Hamm.
John Hamm looking
John
like he's
Hamm.
90 when he's 30.
Ian, I saw you in New West last week. You were outstanding as always.
Tell me more about me.
Well, Glenn Anderson seemed to love you.
He did, but he was hammered.
No, actually, he wasn't.
Wasn't
He
no.
Yeah,
He's very nice.
you did well. You did really well. And you know what I saw to you, and I want to say this to everybody, was I saw a very, there was a lady that was there, and she looked like she had a rough go in life. And Ian singled her out and was very kind to her and said some very nice things. And kind of got the whole crowd like rallied around her, which is.
I'll tell the story. So there's these young kids, and then there's this middle-aged to older woman, and I was like, oh, I couldn't get a babysitter for the kids, and brought the kids out, and we had a talk, and it turned out 2 were not hers and 2 were hers, and they were having fun, and I was teasing her about bringing her grandma to a show, and we're having a good old time, and then I happened to be talking to people about couples, and I asked if she was married, and I could see this look on her face, and she got very upset, and it kind of hurt me a little bit. So I spun it a different way. And I said, you know what? A little bit later on, I said, I'm going to pick up your bill. We had fun with her, and then we spun it the other way. And I said, I'm going to pick up your bill. And before I could pick up her bill, 3 other people tried to pay for it, and then another guy paid for it. It was crazy. Everybody wanted to pay for it. So she had a good
You know
time.
what, Ian? It was a moment of humanity, and it was incredible. And
It's just fun, right? Comedy's fun. It's not about putting people down. It's about teasing people and bringing people in. A lot of people, I know this show's about hockey, but a lot of people think comedy is about being having one up on somebody. But no, it's about including everybody. I can't stand when I go to a show and there's a guy and obviously in a wheelchair and nobody says anything about him. Like, let him be part of it. And you know, and I'll tell you where I got that from, Cory. I used to, when I lived in New York, which you played in New York, we'll talk about that in a bit. I used to do shows at Sloan Kettering, which is a big cancer hospital there, and I was doing it for people that had terminal cancer, and they had the morphine drips, and if they found you boring, they hit their morphine drips. So, and the way I could do it was I didn't shy away from the problems they had. I went right at them, and they had more fun being able to, you know, come out of their shell. And my whole thing was trying to get people not to hit their morphine drips the whole time.
So that's what I need next time at one of your shows. Is that
I'll call it the morphine tour.
I just wanted, it was an incredible moment, and that lady will never forget it. I honestly know that. So.
Yes, she will, because she had Alzheimer's. Let's move on.
Along with the show.
Hey, I got a question. While you guys are helping everybody out here, I gotta hit the screen. What's your shirt say this week?
My shirt.
One.
We got one very. It's every child matters. It's about the. I bought it when I was in Canada. It's the remember those schools, the schools that they took the native kids to, and a lot of them didn't make it back. It's to support them, and I bought one, and I'm wearing it on the show today. I'm saying,
right on.
Yeah, man, because kids that we went to school with, their parents ended up in those schools, and grandparents and stuff like that. So you know, it's actually close to us. So we need to really.
As children, do you guys get any money for being grown up in Terrace, BC, you and Jeff? Because
we get $6,000 a month.
You, Wade Flaherty, and Jeff Sharples.
We get $6,000 a month, but that's mostly to keep us out of town. That's from the city.
That's what I'm getting at.
We're renegotiating right now. We think we can get them up to 10. Keep them out. They obviously don't pay enough because Ian was just up there, and I'm going up in November. But
the Canadian dollar went down, so I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to go back up and prove a point.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. There's three of you from like almost the same generation. You, Jeff and Wade played in the NHL. You're obviously a comedian.
Disappointment.
No, not a disappointment. Do you ever sit and think like how three kids from Terrace, BC, like a small town in the middle of BC, nowhere, could actually be as successful as you three were? And how did that happen?
You know what? I don't know how it happened. I'm always impressed every so often. And Jeff, you have to answer this question too, because you've done much better than I have. But I stumbled across this guy from Smithers the other day, which is close to us, who won Grammy Awards this year for his music. And I'm just like, I gotta meet this guy. I gotta find him. That a guy from Smithers, and he went up and did a concert there the other day, is why I seen him in the Terrace Standard or something like that. And I was like, I gotta find this guy. I gotta find where he lives, and I can't remember his name. Brian, I'll send it to you. Let's put it up right there. Adam? Not Brian Adams. Brian's our producer. Brian's our producer.
Podcast. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's different now, Cory, to be honest with you, because the internet makes everything so close. Whereas when we grew up, if you didn't search it out, you couldn't find anything out about it. You had to go do it. Does that make sense at all?
Or you read about it in the paper a week later. But, you know, when you think about people from small communities, you know, I think of Smithers. I mean, Dan Hamhuis obviously had a heck of a career, but we had some other kids from Terrace, Rudy Pochek, who I grew up with, played minor hockey. Yeah, Rudy went to
Rudy
school.
Punched us all in the face.
Yeah, Rudy ended up being the toughest of all of us. But and then Trucker, Dale Cush, right?
Yeah.
And he's I think in Calgary now, and Dale grew up with us and played too. So we were pretty lucky actually in one regard. We ended up having, I think we talked about this before, but we had 15 kids. Every kid on our team, and the midget team and the bantam team, every one of those kids, I think it was a midget team, went to Air Canada Cup, except one kid went on to play at least tier 2 hockey. And that's pretty amazing, right? So we just got lucky. And then from that helped springboard some of the other guys on. Now, Ian obviously had a little different road, which, you had your guys too, but there was no one really locally that maybe you were in.
Did you guys play in the same team?
No.
Ever?
Ian, much older than I am now. Hey, did you have like, so when you were in remember the Terrace Little Theater, but when you came through, you were into drama and all that, or did you just get out of the arts and just go on your own?
I was in school. I did take some of the drama, the theater classes. There was a guy named Mr. Coven. I took his classes, and believe it or not, he just kind of he was good enough that he said, "Hey, if you do it, you got to put your work into it, and you can get something out of it." And no matter how weird he was, the thing I got was, if you did the work, something will come of it.
There's a song like that, but it's "Put Your Ass Into It." Have you heard? You know that song?
That's a stripper song.
Yeah. This is a family show.
We just got it back on Family after having Scott Darling on about 3 weeks ago. We almost got banned. Hey, but here's the thing: people around. This is kind of going local here, but Brian Coven, right? It was Brian, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was our arts teacher, and this guy was phenomenal, very theatrical, right? The theater. But I always thought you and Mr. Coven had a little bit of a falling out, but he actually helped push you, because I loved him. I thought he was great. But
no, I of course I hated him as an English teacher, but as a theater teacher, I loved him because he taught me. But what I didn't realize, as an English teacher, he was teaching me the exact same thing, but I didn't realize that I needed. I know English. I was born, just that dumb kid, right? So.
Yeah, I have a question. So I have a friend that grew up in a small town.
I feel like I'm the guest today.
You are the guest. This is
Hershey's taking it over.
We're turning the tables on you, MF. I saw you do this on a Lady Cop once in one of your specials, but we're gonna do this. So I was in a town called Gleason, Alberta. A friend of mine grew up in a small town. We went out. It was like I was 18 or 19. He saw his math teacher at the end of the bar that night when we went out. Is that what it was like growing up in Terrace? Where you go out and there's Miss Hathaway sitting at the end of the bar, hammered, slobbering over Mr. Colvin, or like what?
Actually, you walk into, you're trying to get into the bar and not get ID'd, and your Mr. Faz is laughing at you because you're getting ID'd and not getting in the bar.
Lineup?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's only one bar in town. There was was there two? There's two. Hanky Panky's and something else. Jezebel.
Well, there was also I think
a lot of sluts in that town, according to the names of the bars.
Yeah.
So hold on. I want both of you to tell me what it was like growing up in Terrace, BC.
Well,
give me the rundown. What was it like as a kid? What was it like as a
Jeff,
teen?
I've answered this question. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, it's funny because I got Hershey, and everybody that, we've got lots of snacks in the house tonight. So he's already got snacks and he's had a couple. So he's feeling pretty good. Yeah, he's doing really well. But
well, I'd like to know, because honestly, Jeff lived a different. Jeff was Friday Night Lights, like the teenage kids that are stars. I'm not being a dick, Jeff. You were, and I'm not saying you were a dick. I'm saying you were one of those kids that, hey, there's Jeff Sharples. Like he was the guy. Like that guy's going to play in the NHL. We all knew, and and then it happened. Like he was the star of our town. Was
it like this? Because I saw a picture of him in Macau, China, where he was there, and like he was like, you saw Jeff's head and half his body sticking over like thousands of people.
No, we weren't short.
Where he just stuck out like a sore thumb.
He had frosted tips. That's why we all knew who he was.
And a little tail.
Frosted tips.
Tail.
Frosted tips. I love that. I knew I'd get taken down sooner or later. It's like, hey, deflect, and then you reach back in one of the lines you used in 1990s in the bar in Turkey. And you're like,
I loved it. You kind of there was a couple. I would say it was you and Wade, and I think who were the couple of the other guys that were playing junior at that time that were like kind of like superstars. They were college superstars, kind of.
Gordie Howe, Ben Lindsay.
What's that?
Barry Sawchuk, Gordie Howe.
Yeah, I know he's old. He's not that old. Come on, give him a break.
He's just chirping because he's a big deal in Vancouver still. But no, it's a typical small Canadian town, right, where hockey's a big part of it. And I'm sure most of those small towns still are. So we were just lucky. Oh, hang on a second. Here we go.
Getting a call.
If you're watching on video, you might want to turn in. What are we, about 17 minutes in? Well, she pushes his book.
It's an SNL episode right now.
Hey, so Hershey had a story to tell earlier today about when he was playing for the New York Rangers.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. So you want to tell a little bit about that story? And,
I got some good story. Which one? The one on Mario or the one on Gretzky?
yeah. Why don't you tell
Oh,
them
the
about
Gretzky one's
Mario?
better.
It's in the book. You got to get the book to see Mario. And we're talking about Mario Lemieux, right? So
I got a better
Heard of
Gretzky.
him.
okay,
You
tell
wanna
me
hear the Gretzky
Here we
story?
go.
So I'm at Sherwood Golf and Country Club golfing with Russ Cornell about 8 months ago.
Right.
He's in the group in front of us, right? I've never
Gretzky.
met him. Like I've
Yeah.
never met Wayne Gretzky. Like I played again. I never met him. So I'm like, Russ, can you introduce me to Wayne? Like they're best friends. They live on Sherwood Golf, like the course. He's like, yeah, he'll be in the clubhouse after. So I'm sitting like from me to Sharps away talking with Gretzky, like in the clubhouse. Like I'm a giddy little kid. He just wants to talk hockey. Like he's a hockey nerd. He's just super nice. Everything you've heard about him, right?
Right.
I got to go. I got a flight. I talked to him about 40 minutes. I got a flight. I got to go. So I'm like, lose my job, talk to Wayne Gretzky, it was a toss up.
You should have just lost your job.
Yeah. I know.
Now that we look back on it.
Someone's pointed that out before. But I get up. I'm like, hey, Wayne, I got to go. I got a flight to catch. It was really nice to meet you. And he says, hey, did I ever play against you? And I'm like, well, yeah, my first NHL win was actually the only time it was in the Los Angeles Forum. We won. It was my first NHL win. He's like, did I score on you that night? And I said, no, you didn't. And I know you lose sleep by the night. And if you need a psychiatrist, I got one for you. And I walked out of the room and I was like, I made Wayne belly laugh. He said after to somebody, he said, I think he's the only goalie he's never scored on.
I was going to say, you must be the only one. Because
You only
a
get
hockey
one moment
card.
in life.
yeah, you got to take your chances. That's a good hockey card right there, Jeff.
So
We got a Wayne Gretzky hockey card. Didn't even know Cory was going to tell that story. I got a Gretzky hockey card.
Same
I
frosted
don't
chips
have-
as Jeff used to have.
I don't have Gretzky's number yet, but I will put it up on the screen when I get it. I promise. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, when you put Gretzky's number put it on.
We'll call him. Yeah. We'll call. He hasn't given me his number yet, but I'm
We
working.
prefer the daughters, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's on there. So tell them about your save against Mario. You showed Mario there
I
tonight
didn't
in
say
New
it,
York.
though. He scored on me, 3 on me, 2 on Richter. He had 5 goals that night. My first ever start in Madison Square Garden. I was 20 years old.
Welcome
Mario
to
fun
the
of Richter.
show, kid.
Yeah, didn't have much of a chance. Yeah.
I do have a hockey question. When you go up against, and at that time he's already a legend, and it's your first start, and he pumps a couple by Richter, and then he puts one by you. What do you talk to Richter afterwards?
2 by Richter. I started. I didn't finish.
Richter was trying to get a night off. The goalie that played the other 72 games, they were trying to get Hershey.
At that time, you didn't have a goalie coach, did you?
I did, but he was more your drinking buddy, if anything.
Who
Took you
was
up.
that?
Bob Froze.
Don't
No,
know.
Bob at the time didn't drink. He was like quit drinking. He was a good man, but they didn't really.
Does he sit down and talk with you after that and go, "Hey, there's going to be nights like that," or what is it?
Like it was like therapy, right? There was nothing on the ice, like technically, but it was like therapy. It was like they just talked to you, like, "Hey, don't, we've got meds for that." Really.
Hey, so let's continue on here because a lot of people might not know this about Snacks, Cory Hirsch.
Yeah, well, might as well give his resume now, right? Because we've already started the show.
You know what? No, and he's an Olympian too. We got so much to unpack. No, I'm not telling the ice cream story. Maybe later. But so here's one that Hershey was an NHL goalie coach. So when Hershey broke in, it was like these guys would show up every couple of weeks. Now the goalie coaches are there all the time. Talk about the difference.
It was somebody's buddy that was hired when I didn't have my first real goalie coach till I was 27 years old till I went to Nashville. Like you didn't have one back then. And that was the early,
So that's what I'm curious about. How does one get to where he gets to the NHL without a coach at that time?
Bagsy. Maybe smarter than everybody else.
Smarter. I told them to sign me and they did.
You know what?
I've seen those brains at work on my couch many times. So
skill.
yeah, he's one of the smartest guys. He's fooled me for how many years now?
Skill.
But honestly, Cory, I don't know you from hockey. I know you from just being friends, right? So it's not hockey. So do you go when you don't have a goalie coach? Do you just go? Do you read books? Do you watch videos? Like, what do you do that takes you to another level?
You figure it out. You just do. You obviously have athletic ability, right?
Right.
That's the first thing. So a lot of it is that.
Right.
Like I've always said this to people. You put a baseball, you put a hockey stick, you put a not a basketball, but a football. Like I'll just be the best at it. Like I'll be really good at it, right?
Your athletic ability is going to help you get to a certain level.
You put
no matter what sport.
Tell me to draw somebody, Begsy, you would be just a giant orange with like scribbles in it. Like I can't, right? So my talent is athletic, like probably Jeff's or not yours. But that's right. No, but your talent, but Sharps but Begsy, your talent is the ability to read people, right? Your talent is the ability to make people laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
My ability to do that isn't like anywhere near yours. We all have a talent. My point is that, athletic ability get you that.
I'm curious at a certain time in history how goaltenders actually got good, because nobody was really helping them. Because I remember playing hockey and like, oh, goalies go to the net. You go to the net. You're dead, but you equipment, so you're going to be a goalie.
So the embarrassment of getting scored on helps you figure it out, right? You don't want to be embarrassed. And like, so how do you figure it out it's like fear.
Would you play goalie when you guys played floor hockey? Would any like soccer or anything like that?
Never.
Really?
Always played forward. Now I play beer league forward. And none of us goalies now we play forward. We don't play goal.
Well, don't you think though, the praise is exponentially higher if you're a goalie making a save, because not many people understand the position. Matter of fact, very few. But the disdain, I guess, for lack of a better term, when you let one in, is exponentially higher again. So what would you rather have? Praise or people throwing disdain your way because, oh, he should have had that. How many times have we heard that? So I guess the question is then, those guys would come in and kind of be a little bit of a beer drinking buddy, mental coach, but then all of a sudden you are an NHL goalie coach who's played the position. How do you, and then you got to get out there and work on things with these guys. So how do you put that together?
So I'll say it like this. So Ian, you don't have, your show isn't just the same jokes show after show after show, right? So you go up there not knowing what's going to happen, typically, right? Mm-hmm. So do you know that those nerves you feel because you don't know what's going to happen? Could be a good show. Now you've moved along so many that you're probably not as nervous as you were. But at the start, you didn't know what was going to happen, right? So you figured it out. Mm-hmm. It's the same as goalie. Like I went out there not knowing what was going to happen, whether I was going to let an 8 or get a shutout, right? So it's almost very similar, those nerves. But I've been in games where I've had the greatest warm-ups where nobody could score on me, and I'm out of there in the first 5 minutes, right? Like I'm pulled, I got 3, and I had the greatest warm-up. I've gone out there and had the worst warm-ups, felt absolutely like I'm going to get lit up tonight, and then I'm getting a shutout. Like,
right.
I'm sure it's been the same for you, some of the shows that you went to.
No, when I played hockey, I was really good in the dressing room, really good in warm-up, and then really bad in the game. But honestly, Cory, it's weird because when I first did Conan, before I did Conan, I probably did 100 sets until I bombed. As soon as I bombed, then I was ready to go on Conan because I knew I wasn't going to bomb again afterwards.
And that's kind of
for years I would do that. I would always make sure I bombed, and I'm like, keep doing sets until you bomb, and then if it's a couple days before, you stop and you don't do it because the next one's.
It's kind of the same. You didn't have a coach, right?
Yeah.
No, so kind of the same. You figure it out so that you don't go up there and you bomb because.
I get it. It's just weird when because we're all around the same age. That goaltenders didn't have a coach. Like goaltenders just like, it was weird. It was just, you had different skates and nobody cared.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, you just drink. I mean,
Right. Which is basically, he became a logger.
Okay, so Hershey, talking about goalies. So Hershey played for Canada's Olympic team, right? So list. And this would be for some of our older listeners. We have
17, because we've got a lot of 12-year-olds in this.
yeah, we have some older listeners. Who shot the puck the hardest? Who was the hardest person you faced?
Al McInnes hit me in the blocker, and it actually pushed my hand back. Like it actually, the force of it, like pushed my hand back. I'll never forget that. There was a lot of guys that shot hard, but now with the sticks, the way they are, everybody shoots hard. Back then, there was only a few guys on each team, but I do remember Al McInnes, his shot pushed my hand. It actually physically pushed my hand back.
Who would we be shocked that has a weak shot?
Who would you be shocked that has a weak shot that can't shoot a muffin? That's a good question. I mean, this is back in the day, right?
How about now?
Now? Oh, fuck.
Wow.
Think that not many guys. Back in the day, there was a player named Jeff Sharples. That guy could not break it. No, Sharps actually shot. You had to like shot
Him and his frosted. Evidently,
You know,
he couldn't shoot the puck with his frosted tips.
So here's the difference.
I was just going to call you Tips. Oh, Tips had a soft shot. Did he?
Or flakes. Frosted flakes.
Halsey. No, but here's the difference. There was guys that shot.
This is your Captain Flakes.
Some guys shot the puck quick and fast. So it wasn't hard, but it was fast and it was quick. Other guys. So Al McInnes would be a guy that was like heavy, right? Pavel Bure was a guy that was just, it came off his stick so fast that it would beat you by the speed of it, right? So that's kind of the difference, I would say. But you know what else is interesting that people don't know? When you get hit in the face with a puck, a slap shot, you can actually smell burnt rubber.
Really? That's because you're having a stroke afterwards. You just got in the face with a puck.
You can actually smell burnt rubber. Anyways, moving
on. When you guys were playing the NHL, you had roommates, right?
Yes.
And now they don't, correct?
Yeah. You can opt out of a roommate after so many years in the NHL.
Still to this day.
Yeah. You can, if you don't want you're a veteran and you don't want a roommate, you can opt out of one. But if you want one, you can still have one.
And that's operating at about 100%. Hey, would you? Well, every guy would want their own room.
Yeah, there's still a few older guys. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If a guy didn't like, if there was two roommates and suddenly they were no longer wanting to be roommates, would that put an effect on the team?
I don't think so, because if you're going to be that wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen.
No. Now, if there was anybody you wouldn't want a roommate in with, who would it be?
Either one of you two. I know you two idiots. I don't need to smell. I don't need to smell Jeff doing his hair in the middle of the night and you writing a book.
and don't say Jesus, because he wouldn't room with you. I already know that.
Jesus would room with everybody.
He's in everybody's room.
He had a Murphy bed of his own. He just got one where.
This is taking a turn. I just want to hear. I just want off this podcast.
No.
So
we're all changing careers tonight.
Hey, check this out. So the best, we always said it, the best play-by-play on the radio was you and Brendan Batchelor in Vancouver.
Loved it.
Before you go, because I think his wine glass is just about empty. Before you go, who are the teams you enjoyed watching the most? Because you traveled last year.
Yeah.
And who are the teams to look out for this year?
So Colorado, they're fun to watch. Like because they play with speed and pace. They're fun to watch. So they bring it. They're quick. It's Colorado again. I mean, it really is. Connor McDavid is always entertaining because you know something's going to happen. Wild cards. Toronto's always an interesting team because they always just try to outscore their problems, right? But lastly, I would say My heart's always with the New York Rangers. You know that, Bags. I got
Oh, yeah.
drafted. Madison Square, coolest place in the world.
It is a
When
great
you
building.
can play Madison Square Garden, I will show up.
Oh, thanks for putting that. I couldn't even sell out New West, and you're throwing Madison Square Gardens in there.
Was there, but Glenn Anderson showed up. Ollie,
That's true.
That's
He's you played with
He
him
didn't
in
know
New
who
York,
you were.
man. What's that?
He didn't know who you were, but he showed up. He was there.
Oh, he was in the wrong building. He was trying to go to something else, an event down the street, but missed it by 2.
He thought there was an Edmonton Oilers alumni event around the
The
corner.
New York Rangers, Toronto, you say watch them. Edmonton, you didn't really say, you said McDavid watch, but you didn't say really watch the Edmonton Oilers.
Colorado is so good.
Colorado.
The NHL is about to get a lot faster because Colorado won with speed and it's a copycat league.
Well, yeah, that's an absolutely copycat league. What do you think the chances of Connor McDavid and or what's his face in Toronto? That's right, I'm having one of those. What's that? Matthews finish their career without winning a Stanley Cup.
It'll be a travesty.
But what are the chances? I think if they don't leave those teams they're on, there's a good chance they don't win.
I agree. I think that it's very difficult to win a Stanley Cup, though, but usually great players do. So at least they get a chance, right?
But I don't see either the teams they're on fixing the needs that need to be met for them to win the Stanley Cup.
Right, but here's Edmonton's problem. Before they all got there, they're against cap problems, right? It's cap league now.
Mm-hmm.
So the regime that signed a lot of guys before them handcuffed. You know, they got guys on the fourth line making.
So do you think they have to go? Do they have to get through all those contracts before they surround?
You got to get your contracts down, right? Like they signed Koskinen, the goalie, for 3 years at 3.2 for $4 million. Canucks scored 4 goals on 4 shots on.
Yeah, I was there. Where are they going?
I was like, there's no way they can score 3 goals on 3 shots. Yeah, there's no way they can score 4 goals on 4
this
shots.
Is happening. Yeah,
to start the game.
Yeah.
Hold up. Shoes on the other foot. If you were going to describe yourself as a hockey player, what type of hockey player?
What type of hockey player was I? I would be
goal scorer. Were you a mucker? What were you?
I was a mess. Half the time I was I'm a stay-at-home defenseman sometimes, and then other times I'm just gonna go get in front of their net and cause havoc, and then other times I'm just gonna cross-check people across the face. I was an undisciplined player. I was an undisciplined player. I may have been given some of the tools, but never figured out what toolbox to put them in.
You never said anything about your skating.
My skating, I was the only one on our team with picks on the front.
You know what? You care about guys like you, though? What? Great in the locker room. Hey, not a great guy, but hey, he's good in the locker room.
Hey, Hershey just stayed down, never saw you play.
I know.
That's what you think about a guy that's,
Cory, I've heard from a couple of different general managers. The only reason I never made it to the NHL was there wasn't enough teams.
Like 78?
78, maybe 178.
There's a team in Chattanooga. We're putting an NHL team in there. You'd be on it.
Yeah, they're like, look, everybody else has COVID. Will you play? No, we don't want you.
That happened in the NFL once when the players walked out.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't horrible. We had other players that were worse than me, but there was no. Be honest with you. Jeff was 2-3 years older than me, right? So they were always above that, and I would play, and I'd be raised up into Jeff's area, but I would never end up on the travel team. I'd end up playing against Don Wiley and guys like that, who were just men, like guys, you're 11 years old and they've got armpit hair and are driving their dad to practice, and I'm supposed to play against them. But I didn't, I had fun, but I knew at an early age,
path, man.
I knew at an early age that I wasn't chasing. And I didn't get the whole having to move someplace to play hockey. Like it didn't really register with me. And I was also told by my mom I wasn't going. So there's no point of me trying out for a team if I wasn't able to go play for them, you know?
Hold on. So comedians get chicks and hockey
What?
players.
I'm married to a
Comedians
man.
get no. Okay. And you get but like who did Sharps get all the girls in Terrace or did
Johnny Waterski over there with his frosted tips?
he was that guy from Better Off Dead, the K1 year, the guy that would be like, yeah.
He was, you know who he was? Did you ever see the movie Johnny Be Good?
Yes.
Walking around town.
Yeah, that was a great pivot.
Michael Anthony Hall.
But you just did a great pivot right there. It took me down.
And he talked like this about Buffy. Yes, this is a great place to be. And I was smoking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Richie's bed. I think he's gonna fall into it here pretty soon. So
it's a tough house to stay sober in.
So, oh my goodness.
I do. Before we go, Jeff, we do need to talk about Cory's book and his podcast, because it's an important book because, you know, mental health is a struggle everybody has. I don't care if you're young or you're old, you're gonna have it, and you just can't shake it off or try to wish it away. So you gotta hit it head on. And I listened to your episode that's the first of this season on Blindsided on the internet, on the podcast. It's with The Athletic. Is that who it's with?
No, Players Tribune. Yeah,
Players Tribune. Same thing. I don't care. I don't care what anybody said.
Oh, I mean, it's the same. It's kind of like that. But
yeah.
No, but
But I listened to Sheldon Kennedy today, and listening to him speak and him talking about, you know, it doesn't matter. There's things that are going to happen to you along the way. And we had in our hometown, we had a situation like that affected a lot of guys. And listening to it today, I can see guys' faces and the struggle that he went through. Like I can, and I remember the rumors, and I remember, you know, it's shitty at that time that it's affected people like that. And the fact that your podcast lets these guys come on, tell their story, and may help somebody out. And they don't have to be a kid in junior hockey. It doesn't just happen to those kids. It happens all around the place, right? Did you know, because you are kind of a goofy guy. When you started that, did you know that you would be doing something so serious?
I had an idea of what I wanted to do, right? Like I met Diane, she's a psychiatrist, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do was, because I knew everybody struggles, right? Like we all have struggle, whether you're a professional athlete or not, it doesn't matter. Mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't. So I wanted to get stories out there, and I just thought it was a great way. And the Players Tribune's always been good to me. But Sheldon's story really, like I teared up during the interview because it could be any of us. The grooming, hey, your boy's going to play in the NHL. Hey, your daughter's going to be a U.S. gymnast. Hey, you know, your child's going to play in the Wimbledon, right? Like it's so easy for a coach to come in and do what happened with Sheldon. And I was always like, how did I get such a great place to go? And Sheldon got what he got. It's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But Sheldon is a really good friend of mine. And please listen to it if you can, because it can relate to anybody. To hear it in his own words, Ian, was powerful, educational. And I mean, this is a man that's saved thousands and thousands and thousands of children that have been sexually abused from taking their own lives or whatever. So I know this is serious, but
you
listen, right, Ian? You listen to it. It makes you feel not alone if that's happened to you. And he's just, he's a great friend of mine. I idolize him. I really do. You know, and I idolize you, Ian. Jeff, not so much. But Ian, I do idolize you.
As you should. No. The lady that you do, she's a psychiatrist. What? I'm sorry. What's her name?
Diane McIntosh.
So she says things in that you said, hey man, we gotta be happy with ourselves. even with our struggles, we still made the NHL. Like, you should be proud of that. And he talked about how he couldn't because the love of the game was taken away. And she was able to tell him, be proud of, you might not have been enjoying it, but the work you did, be proud of you doing something,
But yeah, that's what I loved about when I came up with the creation of the show is that I don't have that clinical side, right? Diane does. So there's a side, and I'm the human lived experience.
Right.
So when you put together both, and she's able to draw stuff out, but also in an empathetic way. Like, you can't have Dr. Phil on my show, me and Dr. Phil, right? Like, you can't. There's a like she's empathetic, she's kind, she just wants to help people, and that's right. Like, but
she doesn't force her way into the conversation like I do. She just she listens.
We're village idiots, all of us, right? I mean, that's what we do, and but we do it well. And she's so yeah.
And what was it? Jeff, I'm going to interrupt you one more time. What was it like playing for the Canucks, Cory? Like, really, was it a dream, or was it like
one of the best moments I remember is the playoffs? So we had beaten Colorado, Patrick Waugh, and I walked into a restaurant after the game to grab something to eat, and I got a standing ovation in a restaurant, like a small little sports bar. All I wanted to do was have like chicken fingers, right? So that wouldn't happen in New York City.
No.
Because it would be like, oh, did the Rangers win? And they wouldn't even know who that was, right?
Right.
But in Vancouver, it's like it was so, like, I was blessed. Like, I got to play in two of the greatest places in the world, New York City and Vancouver. It was so cool. Yeah. Plus, I mean, there was nights at the Roxy where.
Yeah. The Roxy. It's changed names now. It's okay.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's called something else. Jeff's story. Jeff, can you tell your story about how close you were to being a Vancouver Canuck?
Well, I could. I'll just chime in on Sheldon for a second. Sheldon Kennedy. So
Jeff played with Sheldon.
Yeah, so I played with Sheldon. He was the most incredible skater I still think to this day I definitely ever played with. But he's a combination of McDavid and McKinnon, but I think a little bit more bull-like strength, like McKinnon. That's how special this guy was. And he was a hell of offensive player, and he could move around the ice like nobody else. But obviously, he had all this other baggage that he was carrying around, and to be able to be elite like he was and still is today is unbelievable. It's an incredible story. And really, this is a guy that made it with everything kind of odds stacked against him, and in a culture that there was no real place for him to seek help at the time. So, I'll never forget. Sheldon's one of the guys that sticks out to me as one of the greatest players. How I almost got drafted by Vancouver was, we got to go way back to almost the horse and buggy, but Harry Neal.
When there was just tips, not frosted.
Yeah, I didn't even know what kind of tips they were.
Back then.
Yeah. We'll have to get to the bottom of the tips.
They were looking for ice.
I wish him and his son in.
Right now, I would. So Harry Neal got let go by Vancouver. He left Vancouver, ended up getting hired in the summer by Detroit. Well, I was at the draft. Harry was with the Canucks. By the time training camp was on, he was with the Red Wings, which I got drafted by the Red Wings. And he said to me, he's probably just trying to make me feel good, but he said, Jeff, we were getting ready to take you, but the goalie started getting taken. So we took Troy Gamble. I think it was Gamble. So let's go. Sean, he's with the Knights now. Sean Burke got drafted. I'm not sure if Richter was in there, Mike Richter, and Troy Gamble.
88, 89?
No, it was 85, 86. But I think those were the three goalies that got taken. And so once the goalies start getting, no, it wasn't Fitzpatrick. Mark Fitzpatrick from Kitimat, British Columbia, made it to the NHL. But they started taking goalies, and I might be wrong on those names. And so everyone kind of panicked, said, oh, we need the goalie now. So, all other forwards or defensemen that were on their list got pushed off once the goalies started going. So I fell to Detroit, and then the rest is history. But Harry Neal did a great job for a lot of years. Very engaging guy, on and off the ice as a coach and as a broadcaster. So I'll never forget. I think it was sitting. I was getting ready to be sent back to junior when we had that conversation. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I was almost playing with Hershey.
I would have been.
Yeah.
Would have been.
Sharps, Sharps is a good player.
Oh, man.
I will say this about Sheldon Kennedy, though. Ian, are we almost out of time?
No, we're good.
So when Sheldon went to testify against Graham James, people called him a drunk, a drug addict. He'd been in rehab, he'd been in jail, and they used it against him. Well, why do you think he was those things, right? Because James. So when you see people on Hastings, which Hastings is IV drug, there's a lot of homeless and all that.
Hastings in Vancouver, Rough Street.
Even in LA.
Yeah.
Those people, when you turn an eye away from them, those people didn't grow up saying, hey, I'll be a heroin addict. That sounds like a good idea, or an alcoholic, right? Something has happened in their lives that has put them in that situation.
What is getting them into the ditch, right?
Yeah. So it's something that, where I feel we have to fix our mental health system, all that stuff. But, that has to change. That stuff has to change. These people didn't grow up with dreams of living on the street, right? Something has gone on with them. So let's not treat them like they're second-class citizens because they're on the street. We need to know that something has happened in their background and try and help them.
Just because you're an addict doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't. Some of the worst people in the world are successful and not addicted to things. And so, I could go on all day about, because I watch it down here trying to figure it out, and it's just an endless parade of it. And people blame California. Oh, California. Well, why? If you're living on the streets, what other state would you go to? You're not going to hang out in Minnesota. You got, your mental health has to be so far gone to be living in a place that goes down to -40 in the winter and living on the streets. Like, it's incredible. So, and I honestly think we're all one step away from being homeless. I don't ever feel like any of us are on solid ground. So, it's a tough thing.
Well, you're in.
I did. Yeah. Sorry, I missed what you said.
No, your industry's full of people that have lived. That's sometimes where comedy comes from, right?
Yeah.
You can't laugh at it, it hurts. So you got to find a way to laugh at it.
Like how we started the show. The only part of the story with Sheldon that you guys didn't tell, he was going to tell about the cop that he talked to in Calgary. And I was hoping to hear about how that relationship, like that was the first person that listened to him.
Well, he's letting that person come out with their own story. That's why.
Okay, is that what it was? Okay.
That person's going to come out with their story here pretty soon.
Good.
So Sheldon felt like it wasn't his place to tell, right?
Good. Yeah.
But that was the first time he said he felt. But I mean, think of this: 1996, a male NHL player comes out with sexual abuse allegations from another male, right? Like,
well,
that just.
Not even 1996. Let's go back a year. Like, guys, people are saying, well, how couldn't he not beat up that guy? Well, when somebody has power over you, it's amazing. It's amazing when they have what you want on the end of the stick. They can we've all been in it. We've all.
So this guy groomed himself like he was Graham James was the king, like he was the best empathetic person. Changed the alcohol ads to milk ads in the rink, right?
Mm-hmm.
In rehab. Sheldon's for drugs. He's been in jail. So when you go to the public perception, well, who's the bad guy here, right? Mm. But why is Sheldon like that? Because this douchebag has painted a picture of himself so that he could do that stuff and people wouldn't believe it. Like it's a smokescreen. It's smoke and mirrors. So,
well, that's what those people do. That's who they are. Those people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's molesting people or taking people's houses away or being just being a gross person. It's pretty.
There's that before it happens. They know they're going to do it. They don't just do it. Like there's a whole game plan, and they're so that's why people don't fight back, Ian, because
And it's only been 3 players that have pressed charges against them.
It's probably that, but there's probably a lot more that won't come forward because of the. But yeah, I mean it's the persona, and that's why people don't say anything.
I'm gonna ask you. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but I have more questions. When you guys played in junior, did you guys have an advocate? Like, was there an advocate for the kids playing hockey? 15. So you went away, what, Jeff, 15?
Yeah, summer. So I just turned 16, but no, Hershey and I talk about this all the time. The stuff that went on back in the day, right? I mean, in all walks of life, not just in hockey, but you have a lot of people, these kids are going away at 15, 16, 17 years old. They're still just kids. And Hershey had a great point earlier. We were talking about it tonight. Some of the stuff that, where you're trying to grow up, maybe putting an age limit on junior hockey and more like what you get in college. I don't know, Hershey. You want to talk about that?
I mean, I was 16 and 20-year-olds are talking about sex on the bus. I'm 16. I'm not even ready for that conversation. Like, I haven't even made out with a girl yet, right? So what you learn in that's an adult, and it's not his fault because he's an adult. That's what he's dealing with, right? But as a 16-year-old, like, the age gap is too much. Like, it's not.
And it's weird that you keep the age gaps close until junior, and then you let it go wide open, right? Yeah. So minor hockey's 2 years, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 years. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and one's an adult and one's still a child, right? So my thoughts is that you don't let kids play junior hockey until they're 18. You move the draft to 18. And then you've got 18, 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds playing together. The league will be better too. And 16 and 17-year-olds can develop at home with their own age group, finish high school. And then when they're adults as an 18-year-old, yeah, they can move along. But
which is basically the football way, right?
Yes, college way. So go ahead.
But the argument has always been is that you start to get a watered down product the longer they stay at home. And so if you look at the midget age group, which is what, 15, 16 years old, right? Sometimes 17 if they're a senior in high school, you get that and you don't have the same commitment, right, as kids get down the road. So the argument's always been, well, we got to get these kids on because we got to move them on because, they're elite players. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, they might be great players, but we see it all the time. But there's a lot about the growing up part of it. And of course, we all left home when we were young and we grinded it out. But I would agree with Hershey. But the argument on the other side is going to be you won't find enough competition to keep elevating these kids' games. I
don't believe that. I don't believe that you couldn't have done another year with that team you were on, playing against all those.
He'll be a great player. Yeah.
What's that?
No,
yeah.
Absolutely. But what the argument has been, and that's why, so once they're finished Bantam, which is 13 and 14, 15, I guess, and they get into 16, 15, 16 age group, it's just kind of pre-wired in the junior hockey world, but a lot more kids are going to college now, but those kids are going to junior A tier 2 that are going to college. So, because if you go play junior A tier 1, you lose US college eligibility. So what the argument is, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying this is what it's been, is we're starting to lose the competition level for these kids to continue to develop. So that's why you have the junior level. Now, let's just say there's a lot more checks and balances involved nowadays with junior and all, facets of kids, youth sports. You can talk, you look through it, but that would be the argument that, why we would have a 16-year-old playing on the same hockey team as a 20-year-old back in the day.
So Ian.
Yes.
I have mental health issues, right?
What?
I have mental health issues, right? What? I didn't hear a word Jeff said because I'm stuck on the word when he said midget.
Well, it's funny that that's what did they changed the younger kids, the name for the younger kids, but they left midget.
No.
Hold on, you guys' internet.
You really did.
What did they call them now? That's what I want to know. I didn't even know if I don't. Oh, that's what they are. Sorry, my bad.
No, but I don't.
U14, U15, U16. Yeah.
Like, people call me Ginger, like a ginger, because
I call you Daywalker.
else is.
What's going on
Yeah,
with your internet? Your
but no,
internet's
Jeff's
going crazy.
right. Like, let me ask you a question. Did you
Well,
okay, hold up, Jeff.
Hold
Did you
up,
get in a
let's
fight?
get, let's get your internet back.
Hold up, you got me.
Guys.
Okay, now you're not getting interviewed anymore. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this
Okay,
up
you
soon.
got me.
Yeah, your internet.
You got
your
it?
your internet went weird for a while.
My lips are moving, but you can't hear me speaking.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
basically what was going on. It was really weird.
Hold up. So, did you get in a fight as a 16-year-old, Jeff, in the Western Hockey?
Yes.
Did grown men stand and cheer?
Well, if that's the way the game was.
Right,
back
but don't you think it's ridiculous and sick that grown men stand and watch a 16-year-old fight and cheer for it?
Fight a 20-year-old.
I think it's sick.
then.
I do. I think
get
it's
your ass kicked.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Grown men are standing and cheering watching a 16-year-old fight. Is that what?
I think I honestly believe it doesn't change because of the finances. I think it's too financially rewarding for them to change the way that the game angles up.
Yeah.
And that's Hockey Canada, because Hockey Canada changes if you take away now,
But don't you find, just a question, like as an adult now, if you watch a junior game and you see these two young guys getting in a scrap, and
Yeah.
you're just hoping one of them doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, totally the different way to look at it. Now, but one of the biggest sports in the United States and around the world is MMA. Now, those are adults and grown men, but still, I mean, there's real consequences when you have issues. We're going down the rabbit hole here, but what I'm saying is it's a lot tougher to sit there and watch a 16 or 17-year-old kid get in a fight than it was to get into one when you were that age, right? Because you totally don't think the way we think.
No, there's a reason why they get guys to join the army at 18, because you're willing to go through a wall of that. You're just nothing but testosterone, and you're not even thinking about your head hitting the pavement and you being in a wheelchair the rest of your life by slipping in a fight.
Have you ever been in a hockey fight?
Never.
Liar. Tell us about your first hockey fight.
Oh, it's good times. I remember. But it's stupid, right? The game is so emotional, and the game, and you're a young kid, and then your wires cross, and now you're throwing punches, and it's fantastic. I want more of it, and then you get beaten up, and you don't want more of it. As soon as your nose explodes across your face, you're like, well, this is not as fun as winning.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Hey,
what?
I gotta, you know what? Because Snacks is here, I'm gonna want to eat too. So we gotta wrap it.
I can tell by Jeff's look on his face, he's about to put steaks in the barbecue. So you guys get going.
One of my favorite nights ever is me, you, and Jeff finishing off a bottle of Macallan Scotch. And we don't promote alcohol on this show because you don't drink that much. Neither do
I don't drink that much. I don't drink that much.
You really don't. Right.
I really don't. I don't. I drink every once in a while, and it's going to be at the end of my week, and I don't have to work again for at least 5 days because my recovery rate is so bad. But that night, it was Jeff's birthday, and it was one of the funnest nights. Yeah. And to go all the way back to Frosted Tips, he really was Cory. He was Johnny Be Good in our hometown, and I'm not being a dick. I'm telling you, it was like he came to my birthday party when I was 7. Like, I remember being that kid that was impressed by him,
Sure. And then I give you some Just for Men in my goodie bags for my 50th.
Like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, that guy comes in on a horse.
Yes.
And his hair is flowing.
Oh, God.
Jeff.
Oh my God, Jeff used to have a
guy. We're like, how come the girls don't like me?
I just want to thank you
I'm
guys.
Shrek.
I just want to thank you guys tonight for letting me be your Ed McMahon.
Not Ed McMahon.
This is another good episode. I don't care what people say. This thing should be more popular. Cory, last couple years, he was with the Canucks. He was doing it wasn't play-by-play. It was color, and it was fantastic. He's not going to be back this year. I'm really disappointed. I've said he should start a podcast where he goes in search of players that used to play for the Canucks.
I think that'd be really cool, but I would actually go like looking for man versus food. That's kind of more my
Corey gets hungry. That's what we call them, snacks.
12-pound burritos.
The funniest thing when I seen Corey the other day, he goes, I'm going over to Costco to pick up a couple things. I'm like, have you ever been into Costco? You don't pick up a couple things.
It was meds.
I gotta pick up a couple things. Like, I gotta pick up 40 pounds of cheese.
Bags. I need my meds. Can't you tell?
They come in Costco sizes.
I love that you guys go.
I love it. NHL player, Olympian, silver Olympian, was on a stamp in Sweden. Our guest for the week, Cory Hirsch. He's friend of Jeff Sharples. Fantastic. Johnny Be Good, pilot.
Stop. You better stop.
Pool owner. He was in a pool.
Cinderella's knight in shining armor.
Just a good guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love you, bud. Hey.
Thanks for dropping by, Cory.
Hey, thank you.
Off to get snacks.
I don't think we have any shout outs this week. Or do we have any shout outs? There goes Cory. Do we have any shout outs?
Gone. We'll just shout out Hershey and his book, The Save of My Life, in a store or online near you, October 10th. Go grab yourself a copy of one of the good guys and someone who's spent more time on my couch over the years than I have. And let's shout out Sheldon Kennedy too.
Yeah.
What Sheldon, you know what, he's on Cory's podcast, Blindsided. Once again, we're going to pump another podcast, but Blindsided, go listen to that. Cory and Diane do an unbelievable job on that. And Cory's nice and soothing on that. And Diane helps him, ask the tough questions and solve some really tough problems.
Very real. He's very real on that. My shout outs are going to go completely the other way. Can you put up that book again?
Yes, I can.
The Best of Tom Cochrane, out now on Spotify. Go pick that up. Life is a Highway and Lunatic Fringe.
Life is a Highway. The Lights of Vancouver, right? So
yeah, and I think Terrace is in that song. I think Terrace is actually in Life is a Highway. No, it's another song that he does. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
Right.
Yeah, I think we went a long ways today. We kind of went all over the place, kind of like our friendship. That's good, but
like our friendship.
Yeah, we're kind of over the place. And I can't wait. I'll be down there a lot more in October now because I just got my schedule. So tell Cab, I'm coming in.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing you. Loved all. Hey, by the way, I dropped by your mom's place twice and she was not there either time. Just let her know.
She's out. She's keeping Mills Memorial Hospital gift shop operational. So
I thought she might be building the new hospital the way she was.
She's spending enough time there. We're gonna have to start paying her a wage here soon. But she loves going down there and doing that. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But anyways, hey, before we go, where are you this week?
I am just hanging out. I'll be doing shows at the Laugh Factory, at the not the Ice House, the Improv, and the Old Fashioned Comedy Store. That's where I'll be this week.
Hey, do you want to talk about Super Deeker before we go?
Nope.
Okay. Love talk.
Love all.